Heading into this upcoming season for the New York Rangers, it is definitely widely expected that this team is heading into this upcoming regular season, of course, with the intention on trying to make the playoffs. This is definitely a team that it seems like wants to be a potential Stanley Cup contender and really wants to get back into the mix of the playoffs. And I think throughout this upcoming season, of course, we very well could end up seeing some trades happen where this team is trying to go out there and make some upgrades in certain areas of this team that, definitely could potentially use an upgrade if this team really wants to be a potential serious cup contender or have the chance to go on a long playoff run. So in today's video, we've got 3 different New York Rangers players from Heavy.com's article, which they kind of talked about 3 trade candidates for the Rangers that may be on the move throughout this upcoming season at some point if this team does want to make some upgrades. So we're going to take a look at 3 different New York Rangers players that could be traded away for some upgrades throughout this upcoming season at some point. And let's just get right into things here. And we'll start off, of course, with the first player, and that is Juuso Parssinen. This is someone that, of course, was picked up in that trade involving Ryan Lindgren going over to the Colorado Avalanche. He was more of, I think, kind of just a piece kind of put in there. I don't think he had a huge amount of value in that deal necessarily, but he is now a somewhat potential kind of valuable player for this Rangers team, as he very well might end up becoming the third line center for this team to begin this upcoming season. And of course, with that being said, there is definitely the possibility that throughout this upcoming season at some point there, if things aren't working out too well with that third line and maybe Juuso Parssinen isn't doing too great of a job as that third line center and they don't just want to go with, Mika Zibanejad back at the 3C spot possibly, or maybe someone like a, Johnny Brodzinski kind of take that spot. If they want to go out there and make an upgrade, well, trading away a guy like Juuso Parssinen in a part of that kind of a deal, which it would probably be a package, of course, with maybe Juuso, possibly another player or two potentially, who knows, but, you'd also be adding on some picks and or prospects, whatever it is, to go out there and probably make that upgrade happen. And with him having, like a $1.55 million cap hit, well, it does make some sense there that he would be involved in some kind of a trade, of course, to open up that extra bit of cap space that would be needed. So I think, obviously, right now, the third line center spot is definitely a pretty big question with this Rangers team. I know lots of fans want to see, Mika Zibanejad as that 3C. Lots of fans don't, and they want to see him on the wing. Some fans maybe want to see a Juuso Parssinen or a Johnny Brodzinski, and some fans also, I'm sure, would rather just see this team go out there and make some kind of a trade happen to upgrade that spot right now before heading into this upcoming season, where, as of right now, it's sort of looking like we're probably going to have, like I said, Juuso Parssinen as that third line center to begin this season. So for me, obviously, yes, it would be kind of nice if this team went out there and added in a really good third line center. That would be ideal, but that's not really realistically probably going to happen throughout the rest of this offseason. I think this team is probably pretty much set for the players that are going to be on the roster and competing for spots throughout training camp. So I don't think we're going to see any major trades or signings happen throughout the rest of this offseason. And I really just am okay with kind of seeing how things go with Juuso. I'm not saying he's going to be a, top third line center in the league or anything like that, but I think he has some kind of talent there. Obviously, he had a pretty good end of the season there, put up some solid numbers overall with the Rangers, 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists in 11 games played. It's not bad at all. He's a pretty physical player, of course, can bring some toughness, physicality. He's got some good energy out there, pretty energetic guy, standing at about 6'3", so has some good size there, over 200 pounds. Pretty strong, tough player, obviously. Needs to work on his, offensive defense game a bit. Obviously, he's not a great all-around player, but he is okay defensively, he's okay offensively, and he's got that nice physical game. So I think overall, it is worth giving him a shot as that third line center. He is still only 24 years old, turning 25 in February, so he is still somewhat young, but of course, this is not someone that I think has, crazy high upside. I think at best, he's probably just going to be a, solid third line center for this team, which if he can be that, great. But we'll have to wait and see, as, he is still a young, inexperienced player, still only has 137 games played at the NHL level in total over his career, so still young and inexperienced, but heading into year 4 now, it'll definitely be interesting to see kind of what he can do possibly with this team, as he probably will be, like I said, the opening night third line center for the New York Rangers, but definitely could be traded away at some point if this team is looking to upgrade that 3C spot. Next up here, we've got Carson Soucy, who of course is entering the final year of his contract with a cap hit of $3.25 million per season, and Obviously, it's not a phenomenal contract, but this definitely is a movable one if this team, finds some upgrade out there. I'm sure most teams will be willing to take on Carson Soucy for 1 year, especially if it is a rebuilding or retooling team or a selling team. They would be more than willing to take on that contract for 1 year. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, obviously, Soucy played quite bad, you could say, when he joined the Rangers, but I still don't think overall he's going to be that bad of a player going forward. And really and truly, it's 1 year left with a $3.25 million cap hit. He's still an NHL caliber guy, so it's not like this is some immovable contract. He's 6'5", over 200 pounds, plays a big, kind of strong, heavy game, physical player. Obviously, he can bring a decent defensive game. And I think, like I said, going forward in this upcoming season, I've said it in the past videos, I don't think he's going to be as bad as he, of course, was throughout this past season with the Rangers. So I think he'll be better. It is a movable contract with it, especially being a 1 year deal, like only left on the contract. And if this team does want to make an upgrade, though, that $3.25 million cap hit definitely will probably have to be on the move. And I'm sure a lot of Rangers fans will agree with me when I say this, that the left side of the defense core definitely could use another body on it. Adding in another kind of top four left-handed kind of defenseman, I think, would be quite ideal. Right now, there is still, of course, that big question, what's going to happen with the defense pairs? Are we going to see a guy like Braden Schneider actually make that jump from the right side to the left side, which, we saw at moments throughout this past regular season? And the real problem right now is when you take a look at the left side of the defense core for the Rangers, it is quite a bit weaker than the right side, where on the left side you have, as a top guy, Vladislav Gavrikov, which that's great and all, but then after that it drops off to Carson Soucy and Urho Vakanainen, where on the right side you have Foxy as the number one guy. Then you've got like Schneider and Borgen as the kind of number 2 threes. And then as number 4 right now, you've got a guy like Scott Morrow even. So I think it's obvious the right side is definitely a lot more loaded up right now for the Rangers. So that's why a lot of fans, and myself included, have kind of wondered whether or not it would make a lot of sense for a guy like Braden Schneider, who has had experience in the past there of playing on the left side, even though he is a primary right-handed defenseman. He's a right-handed shot guy, of course. So I think it does make some sense there to give Braden Schneider that look on the left side. And personally, that's really what, as of this moment, I want to see. Unless we are making the upgrade there and we're shipping off Carson Soucy and we're getting in a different kind of real top 4 caliber left-handed defenseman. Otherwise, I would rather just see Braden Schneider make that switch. I think Carson Soucy, is a solid defenseman still. I don't think he's absolutely awful, but I definitely don't want to see him ideally in that top 4. Realistically, I think this team has pretty high ambitions, and no offense to Carson Soucy, but at this point, I just don't think he's quite at that level to really kind of be good enough to be on this Rangers team in that top 4. And I think maybe he does completely turn things around there, get back on track to being, a top 4 caliber guy, which he has been at moments in the past, but I'm just not quite sure that's going to happen where he is, truly game in and game out going to be a top 4 caliber guy. So that's why I really do kind of wonder whether or not it's going to be a trade happening where you're making an upgrade with Carson Soucy going out the door, or are they going to go out there and, fully trust in Soucy, or are they going to make that switch with Braden Schneider to the left side? There's those kind of 3 options there. It's Schneider to the left side, it's trusting Soucy in that kind of second spot on the left side of the defense core, or it's going out there and making that big trade. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, but as of right now, I would kind of guess we're probably going to roll into the season with Soucy on the team there, of course, and I do think we're probably going to see Schneider on that right side to start things off and not have him on the left side. So I do think we're probably going to see Soucy in that top 4, but that's, as of right now, just kind of my thoughts and opinions before we've seen training camp and the lines coming out of that. And the third trade candidate they have listed is Matt Rempe. And I'll be honest, I don't think Matt should be listed here at all. This is not a player that I think should be on the trade kind of block for the Rangers. And, I'll give you my reasons for that. And first off, of course, I'm not saying I wouldn't trade Matt Rempe away. I'm just saying I don't really think more than likely you're going to be able to get back enough value to really make it make sense. So if it were in some kind of a trade package where the Rangers were going after some kind of big star player and, Matt Rempe was just an extra kind of added on kind of piece there for that team, then okay, that's fine. But I'm just saying if they were to make some kind of a 1-for-1 trade, for example, where the Rangers are getting back just a player or a prospect or a draft pick, I doubt you'd really be getting back enough value to really make it make sense. But maybe I would be wrong there, but that's just kind of my opinion and thoughts. So I don't really think trading away Matt Rempe makes a lot of sense there. Like I said, you're not probably getting back a crazy amount of value for what he can really kind of bring to this team. And I don't think he should be in the lineup for 82 games, but I definitely think this is a guy who, especially if he does kind of work on the rest of his game there and can develop a bit more of a kind of structured kind of defensive game and offensive game there and just kind of rounds out his play a little more, I don't see why he can't be a really good player for this team in a fourth line role. And again, it's a fourth line role. I'm saying he can be really good. And I'm not saying he can be a really good average NHL player in general, but I think he can be a really good fourth line player and can really play that role quite well. He's that energetic kind of guy who's going to go up there. He's going to be flying around up there for, 10 minutes or less per game on average for the most part there, of course. He's going to be out there playing physical, playing with some energy though, hitting, fighting, sticking up for teammates, battling in the corners. He can obviously be a bit of a menace in front and around the net at moments as well. So with all that being said, and with his cap hit only being $975,000 for the next 2 seasons, and then after that, he's still an RFA with no arbitration eligibility. To me, I do not see why this team would be looking to trade away this kind of a player. He's still only 23 years old. He turns 24 next June. Next late June, he'll turn 24. So he's still very young. He's 6'8", 6'9" height there, about 250 something pounds. He's an absolute monster out there on the ice. He's a beast of a player, and if he can get better and continue to kind of improve his game there, which I don't see why he can't, because he's still only 23. He's still very, very young, and especially for a bigger forward, a bigger player, sometimes they can take a little longer to develop than maybe a smaller kind of winger, for example. So I think overall, this is a player that can definitely be a really good fourth line player for the New York Rangers for the foreseeable future. And with that kind of a price tag, with what he can bring, with how much of a fan favorite he is, with how much energy he can bring to the team there, I really don't see why you would look to trade this guy away, especially when you probably would not get back a great package in return. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post a video about the New York Rangers every single day. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video and on these New York Rangers potential trade candidates. Which ones do you want to see traded away? Adeuso, Parsonen, Matt Rempe, and Carson Soucy? And which other players do you also want to see traded away at some point? Maybe certain players you want to see kind of some upgrades happen in their spots. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.